One of the biggest problems for my workshop is the fact that I have too much stuff and I'm a bit of a pack rat. A good portion of my floor space is consumed by odds and ends I'm too stubborn to get rid of, but I've also got 14-foot walls with tons of dead space I could shove this stuff onto if only there was a way. Oh right, with shelving. So in comes Bed Bath & Beyond. Our local store was one of the hundreds that closed down around the country, and I saw a post on Facebook Marketplace that they were selling everything down to the fixtures. Naturally, I forgot completely I wanted to check this out, and a few days after the event, I was being a fatty getting crumble cookies next door to the Bed Bath & Beyond when I remembered the event. I wandered in out of curiosity to what I missed out on and quickly noticed these big, beautiful 12-foot tall shelving units lining the store. I also noticed the lack of sold stickers on the majority of them. I wandered around and eventually found someone who knew the liquidation guru and gave him a call. The guy said he couldn't sell them anymore because everything needed to be out in a few days, and I told him I could buy them and remove a whole wall if the price was right the very next day. Suddenly, they were for sale again, and he offered me a crazy low price of $20 per 4-foot section. I ended up buying 100 linear feet of shelving, and $500 later, my shelving collection, storage, reconstruction, and customization project began. By the end of the day, I wrote my dad, sister, and our grass mower Gary into helping me break down all this shelving and help me get it back to the shop. It took us a little bit to get our rhythm going, but it didn't take too long before we were chugging along and got this wall cleared. It was funny chatting with some of the other vultures picking the corpse of the store's fixtures because they were amazed at how quickly we broke down this whole wall. The best part was that I found a $100 bill in the emergency exit graded steps, which just so happened to be what I owed Gary for his help today. Loading everything up went well enough. We brought literally all the ratchet straps and pretty much loaded our dump truck and trailer up to their max. The weight of these shelves is deceiving. The drive home went without a hitch. Except this hitch, where I'm on the side of the road trying to rework a strap that wasn't cooperating. Too bad my sister missed the moment my head was probably within a foot of a tractor trailer blowing past us unreasonably close while I'm pushing the limits of safe roadside work. Now that it's back at the shop, I've got a catch-22 of using up floor space to store this to eventually gain space by setting it up. Fortunately, we had the spare pallet available that was just the right size. To save space, we decided the metal sides would go outside. We repurposed some pan racks from our scrap pile into standoffs for the shelves to keep them away from the ground. We loaded them up, and from the start I was concerned they wouldn't be structurally sound in their sideways condition. Eventually I could just tell that if we kept loading it, it'd fail laterally and would be a disaster. We took a pause and made some bracing to shore everything up. It was a bit of a pain, but worked well and we finished loading everything. Last was to deal with all the metal hardware, and we're running out of steam for the day by this point, and my storage solution for that was a little bit more complex. My dad and I loaded up the tractor bucket with metal bracing and cleared the trailer, and that'd be enough for today.
Good enough for today.
Originally, I had planned to make a whole video about making the storage rack, but ultimately scrapped that idea, and I'll sum it up right here. It starts with the humble Harbor Freight 1,000-pound dolly. We use these all around my shop, often stealing the wheels off of them to mount underside pallets to make them easily movable. Today's build requires the wooden structure from the dolly as well, so I chopped this one up. The next part of the equation is to utilize this free storage rack I got from my sister's boyfriend's work. It's been collecting dust in my shop, and now it's time to become useful. With the creative use of screws, I married the wheels to the rack, and with a special flattening jig, I had a rolling storage rack. Next up was to start organizing all the components. It seems like an unnecessary thing to do to go to all this trouble organizing all of this, but by the end I'll be able to grab components with ease and have it all stored in pretty much as condensed of a package as possible. What I didn't think about beforehand was just how heavy all of this was, and by the end I added pieces of plywood that act as sort of a cross brace, because this whole thing weighs in the realm of 1,500 pounds loaded up, which exceeds the dolly wheel's rating of around 1,000 pounds. Whoops. Fortunately, I don't really need this to move around much, so it seems to work well enough in the end. In the next video, I'll actually get to putting these shelving units up in the shop. It'll be a little bit more technical in nature because the grand plan for these is to line my whole back wall, but somehow I need to also maintain the lower wall space for toolboxes and my workbench. These shelves may have only cost me $500 to buy, but I'll be putting quite a bit more sweat equity into them before I finally solve my storage problems. But solve them I will. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and consider subscribing so you don't miss part 2 of this build. And as always, have a good one.